forgot to tell you, I forgot to tell you guys, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. I forgot to tell you guys that the NMDOT employees that sat in the front seats, they were gonna get a day of admin leave. So we saved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 days. Mershawn, do we have Commissioner Taylor? Okay. I want to call to order the New Mexico State Transportation Commission meeting of March 30th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. Let the record show that 4 board members are present and 1 by teleconference, and a quorum has been established. We have 1 vacancy, so all 5 are on board. So if we can do a roll call. Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Let me do the pledge of allegiance. Before I get into the approval of budget. Can I have a volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we move on to the approval of the agenda, we have an item. It's item C under 9C. And we are not going to do that one today. So before we approve the agenda, can we have a motion to approve the agenda, removing number 9 and letter C?
I'll make that motion, Chairman Adams, to approve the agenda, removing item C under 9.
Approval of budget.
Second that motion.
I have a second, so I have a motion by Commissioner Chenoweth, a second by Commissioner Lundstrom to remove letter 9C, the approval of budget adjustment request, bar number 14 US 64. And with that, do I have the motion to approve the agenda with that exception?
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda with that exception, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion to approve the agenda with the exception of the removal of 9C. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Sandoval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll do a roll call vote since we have Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes. Yes.
We're going to move on to number 3, approval of the minutes. You've had a chance to review the minutes of the regular meeting of January 19th, 2023. What is the pleasure of the commission? Do we
I'll
have,
make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
we have a motion to, for approval of minutes for the regular meeting of January 19th, 2023. Do I have, from Commissioner Chenoweth, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lundstrom. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes. Yes.
That carries unanimously. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, and I'm doing a roll call vote instead of all in favor, say aye. Anytime we have somebody via teleconference, we make sure we do it so that it is recorded and that everybody knows how everybody's voting, so. We're gonna move on now to 4, which is introductions, and I'll turn that over to the secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. We have 3 that have identified themselves, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, including City Councilor Kathy Harmon. Are you still here? It's Kathy. Mayor Philip Mortensen is also here, and Mayor Deb Stubblefields from the village of Wagon Williamsburg? I was gonna say, that came a long way. Please stand. There you are. That's all so far. Are there others that didn't have a chance to sign the sheet? Elected officials in the,
On behalf of the commission, we appreciate your attendance here today and coming to, and I welcome any of the 3 to come up to the podium and feel free to speak. If you have any requests, any comments, welcome.
Chairman, commissioners, members of the governing bodies, DOT members, I actually like to serve, I've been speaking public comments, being you've invited me if I may. Appreciate you guys being here, appreciate the work that's going on now in our community, in Sierra County. I would like to bring to light an intention, I'm sure it's been brought possibly before, but exit 83 into Elephant Butte is majorly concerning to me. Structurally, it may be sound and safe, but geometrically, to me, it is a mess. I have missed turnoffs and ended up at TRC personally, and we respond quite frequently out there for accidents and situations where people have made major mistakes on that intersection out there. And if the state and commission could take a look at that and possibly in the future, work towards funding on that and see if we can straighten it out a little bit and make it a lot easier for citizens to navigate. Elephant Butte State Park brings in hundreds of thousands of visitors, and a lot of those visitors try to make that exchange right there. And if they're not real familiar with it, it's very, very easy to miss that intersection. The next thing you know, they go a little ways past and do a U-turn on the freeway. So overall, I greatly appreciate your attention to exit 83.
No worries, and I want you to know that our intent as a commission and as an administration is to visit all the communities. And in our eyes, there's no community more important than another. There's different needs and different wants, safety, whatever that concern is, but everybody deserves the same amount of attention because it might not be big in another district, but it's big here in your town, might not be big somewhere else, but what's important to you and the people that are here is important to us, and that's what I said earlier. That's why we like to come out and hear it firsthand, so we appreciate it. And as we move on, you can continue to request that, and we'll continue to look at it. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else? So with that, we'll move on to NMDOT Executive Staff Secretary.
sure. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'll start with the far side of the table. Sitting at the end is Lisa Vega, our District Engineer for District 6. Next to her, Paul Brasher, District Engineer, District 5. James Gallegos, District Engineer, District 4. Justin Gibson for District 3. Francisco Sanchez, District 2. And Aaron Chavarria for District 1. Next to Aaron is Rick Padilla, Executive Director of Highway Ops. Our Deputy Secretary, Trent Doolittle. Our new Deputy Secretary, who I'll talk a little bit more about, Jessica Cooper. Next to her is Ken Swain is filling in for Steve Hamilton. And I'll speak a little bit more about Steve, who's our new General Counsel, in a little bit as well. But this is the DOT team here. Among them are others who are in the crowd. Maybe I'll just have them stand up, DOT employees. Let's see how many there are. I think it's going to be a lot. There you go. So, Mr. Chair, these people standing up are the ones that, the ones sitting down work for. So, thank you all for being here. It's good to see you.
And on behalf of the commission, we're very, very happy that you're here. We appreciate all of you so very much. Without you, the work wouldn't be getting done. Without you, NMDOT wouldn't be the organization it is. And sometimes that, when you're having a bad day, or sometimes when you think the pay's not enough, and sometimes when it's just one of those days, always know that you're very appreciated, and sometimes in life, that's all people want, is to acknowledge and appreciate what you've done. And so we want to make sure that you know that you're a very valuable part of our team. And you always got to remember one thing: the success of any organization, the success of any business, whether it be Starbucks, whether it be DOT, whether it be other big corporations, every business is only as good as its employees. And I'll tell everybody right here, right now, that I think we got the best organization going, and that's because of our employees. So, and then we have a great administrative team here, and we have leadership, and so we appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for being here today. And you're gonna get a chance to get up and introduce yourself later. So, because we want to know who you are. So with that, thank you. Anything else? Then, you have anybody else?
Aside from the executive team at DOT, we want to recognize our partner, Cindy Vigu from FHWA, who's also here. Always good to see her.
And we appreciate you being here. She's another one of our partners, or a piece of our puzzle, so we all fit in there. So with that, we'll go on to commission members. We'll start with your commissioner here in District 1, someone who is always calling to see how we can get more money to put in here. I don't tell her where all the money is, because I want to take some back to my district, so.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you so much for working on our part of the state, which I think we're the most important. We all have to live here and drive here, and I feel safe on the highways and the roads, and just thank you so much for everything you do, because I know it's hard work out there, so we really appreciate it.
Good morning, I'm Hilma Chinoweth. I am the Commissioner for District 3, which is the Albuquerque area. It's small, but quite dense, and really appreciate being here in terms of consequences in Williamsburg and Pleasant Butte, and getting to know this community a little bit better. Thank you.
And I'm Walter Adams, and I am the Commissioner for District 4, Las Vegas. And I actually worked here for 42 years. 27 or 8, I don't even remember anymore. I only choose to remember what I want to these days. And 27, 28, and then I put in another 15 years at the general office, so I put in 42 years. And now with the 4 years I've been here, it's been 46. So I'm humbled to be here in front of you.
Commissioner Taylor speak?
Well, I'll go to you, and then I'll go to Commissioner Taylor.
Hello, guys. My name is Charles Lundstrom. Again, I'm from Grants, the District 6 office. I cover McKinley and Cibola and Catron counties. I'm an Aggie, went to New Mexico State, so spent some time up here at the lake and driven through TRC many, many times. And when I was with the Environment Department, did a lot of environmental work up here. So it's kind of like, get a chance to see people I hadn't seen in places I hadn't been in a while. So thanks for having us. Thank you for the warm reception and all the burritos and everything. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Taylor.
Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner. Can you hear us?
Okay, are you there?
Yes. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Commissioner.
Yeah, Commissioner Taylor from Farmington. Unfortunately, been ill for a week, and I'm missing today. District 5 is what I call the pistol district. If you look at it on a map, it looks like a Glock pistol. Uh, Runs all the way from Farmington here in the corner down to the center through Taos and all the way down to Torrance County south of I-40. Anyway, it's delightful, very interesting to be a member of the New Mexico Transportation Commission. I served as a legislator for 16 years, and it's always interesting to have a view from the inside of an organization that you know something about and fund and all of that, but get to see it from a different point of view. And we have a great team, and I just want to say thanks to all the folks that managed to make this work. We have a lot of highway and not very many people. It's a real challenge. And those of all of the folks in the highway department just do an amazing job taking care of the roads and highways here in New Mexico.
I'm going to go ahead and get to welcoming remarks. But before I get into that, I wish that everybody would keep the 3 employees that were injured in their prayers, as we are. And we have Bo Laws, and he's up in Ronaldo Carrillo, he's up in Tucson, and we have Ramon Garcia up in El Paso. So keep them in your prayers. And they're part of the NMDOTO family, and when they hurt, we hurt, and we know them, and we work with them. And I've always said that here at NMDOT, we're more of a family. We spend more time sometimes with the people here than we do with our own families. And with that, I would also hope that we could have a moment of silence. 46 years ago, when I started with DOT back in 1977, up in District 4, and I met a person there. He was my supervisor. I never knew him before, and he became not only a mentor to me, he went from a friend to a brother, and he was part of our family for 45 years. And we lost him last week, all of a sudden, and it's been a hard loss. When I started working with him, I had been with him for about 3 weeks, didn't know him. I was a brand new guy, afraid of everything, did everything they told me. And he was a real quiet guy, he didn't say much, but he got things done. And about after 3 weeks, we had gone on a break, and we had got down to get a Coke. And he turned to me and he said, I think I'm gonna like you. You're a pretty good guy, but you talk too much. And so I said, okay. So about 3 hours later, we were back working, and he comes back and he says, I said, you talk too much, but I said, you can talk a little much. So it developed into a friendship. He's the godfather of my daughter, and he was just close to our family. He was at our house, or we were at their house most of the time. So we can have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. And his name was Gerald Lujan. And I tell you how generations keep working here. His son now works for Justin up in District 3. And so that's another generation, but it's always hard to lose somebody or somebody that you know. And it was a rough last week. So. And with that, I want to thank TRC for hosting us. I want to thank them for their hospitality. It's a beautiful place up here in the surrounding areas up to Elephant Butte and everything. And we want to thank some people who sponsored a dinner last night, which was Sandy Jones and Howard Bartow. We want to thank Sandy's Catering for everything that you're seeing here this morning. And I really, really want to thank Amy. Where's Amy at? Amy, would you stand up? Every time we have something down here, she hustles and she makes sure that she can put the best event on. And we appreciate it, believe it. And I want to recognize our IT staff who are over here because they come in and they set everything up and they make things happen, and we just show up and drink the free water and the free burritos, but they do the work. And so we just want to thank everybody that's here today for their hard work. So with that, I again thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for hosting us, and we would love to come back again if you'll have us. Sometimes we leave and they don't want us back, so I hope you guys will. So with that, I'm gonna go on to public comment. No public comment. So with that, we're gonna move on to number 7, which is the District 1 update. But before we bring up Aaron, I'd like to bring up Travis Martinez. And Travis is our PIO from District 1, runs the best practice program, District 4, and he runs our best practice program. And what else? Tell us a little bit of what you do down there.
So, basically communications, public communications for District 4. Marissa Mays, our communications director. We're in charge of informing the public of what the department is doing every day, day-to-day operations, any events that we have. And we just make basically everyone here look good. And they're very, very great people to always go out there and see what they're doing. It's great to see Amy here. But I do, Mr. Chairman, I do run the BEST programs. It's something that I've enjoyed very much. You started it way back when, so I have to make sure I do a good job, especially for D4. So, thank you. So basically, the NMDOT best practice, it's part of the NMDOT best programs, which recognizes industry standards in excellence. The best practice recognizes innovation and inspiring ideas that come from the men and women from the Department of Transportation. New methods, techniques, and devices are introduced by these men and women, and they're accepted as superior best practices. These individuals here today is District 1. I hope they're here. The best practice was a sign rescue. They basically were recycling old signs and making them into a new sign for our recruitment efforts with the department. And a basic package of signs was going to run around $832. These individuals were able to produce the same signage for less than $300. So it's a saving of $500 on just this small little project. So it's very, very good. Best practice, saves the department money, which is great. Also, in producing the signs and saving the $500, that's something that's going to be accepted. Every district can use that now. I'll be doing it in District 4, producing signs that are recycled, and that's what the department does. That's what this program does, and I'd like to recognize those individuals today. You guys can stand up and introduce yourselves. Mr. Chairman, with that, I know now is probably not the appropriate time, but I'd like to get pictures with the individuals, with the commission leader.
I just want to emphasize, thank you for the great job you're doing. And secondly, I just want to say this, here at DOT, and the reason I say it's a great organization. Back in the day, even when I was here and I was an AMS and doing stuff, there was never a time that I asked the employees to go out and do something, and sometimes we didn't have the resources, and sometimes we didn't have the means, but they would figure out a way to get out there and get the job done. They didn't sit around saying, well, get us the tool and then we'll go do it. They found a way to do it. So it's an innovative way to do things, and then what we do is we share it with all the districts, and there has been some great things that have been shared. More importantly, like I said, our employees don't sit around and say, well, you know, get us the budget, get us the money, get us the resource. They say, hey, we'll get it done. and then somehow, some way they do. So it's always whatever it takes.
Travis, I just wanted to share a story because I know you gave the chairman credit for coming up with, the program. And a lot of people don't know that many, many years ago, I carpooled with the chairman, and that's why I too know he can talk. And he had just started this new position at the DOT, after he had retired, and we were driving a Santa Fe, and he said, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm nervous, do you have any ideas? And I told him, yeah, you should come up with a best practices program and recognize, all the men and women who come up with these innovative ideas to save you money. And he said, no, I don't like that idea. And then the very next thing I know is DOT has a best practices program. So I just wanted to set the record straight where the idea came from. He's been walking around taking credit for it for, I think, 15 years. But I think, the truth had to come out there. So I just wanted to put that
I
down.
want everybody in the audience to know that I don't care how flat a pancake is, there's two sides. So you can listen to his or you can listen to mine. But with that, I also wanted to recognize another employee from District 4 that came up here is Steven Sena. And he came up here and he's helping out and he's a big part of what we do up there in District 4 too. So you can make that presentation.
Go ahead, it's the D1 team?
Let's do it now. Trent, Rick. Then again, before I move on to District 1's presentation, James, you'd come up to the podium. Only if you ate my burrito. I had one hidden behind there. I, on behalf of the commission, James, we wanted to thank you for your efforts. James came in, and James, tell them a little bit about yourself here, because you put in 28 years, but you had been in all kinds of, with your career, so if you can, he was a little, yeah. Little louder. No.
Just a little bit about
There-
me. I've been around a long time. Not as long as you, Mr. Chairman, but I've been kind of right behind you. But I'm starting to lose a little bit here. No, I've been with the DOT for 28 years. Before that, I was with Caltrans for 8 years. I graduated from NMSU in 1987, and it's been a great ride with NMDOT. Like you always say, Mr. Chairman, NMDOT is a family. That's what it's all about. And I'm I guess my retirement, my last day is today. So, I don't know what else to say, but retirement's great. Anybody who works for NMDOT knows it's a great place to work, and I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and the commission for, yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, he told me to wait 30 years, but I tried to, but things change, and but I want to thank everybody for supporting me, and I appreciate everything.
On behalf of the commission, on behalf of myself, I want to thank you because the last year and a half here up there in District Court, we had fires. We had floods. It was 24/7. We were working hand in hand with other agencies, and James did a wonderful job coordinating everything along with his employees. He got the right people at the right places at the right time, and we were able to do, I thought, an amazing job, and the community really appreciated it, and a lot of that was due to your efforts, and we want to thank you for that too. You came on, I think, we came on at about the same time. And so, and before we both came on here, we used to see each other on the walking path up there in Santa Fe, because we used to go for our walks and our breaks. And so, thank you, James, for a job well done. We appreciate it, and we want to wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. And thank you for your contributions.
The thing I do want to thank is the employees, right? The employees with NMDOT. Without them, like you always say, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, without them, I couldn't do what I could do, right? So a lot of people thank me, but they're the ones that make things happen. All I did was give them a little guidance, and they just take over, and that's what it's all about. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
The only thing, James, is that when I left and I retired, they told me that productivity went up 14%. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the District 1 update. Aaron Chavarria.
Commissioner, Chairman Adams, Commissioners. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your thoughts and prayers. Last week was a rough week for District 1, but our employees are doing well. We do continue to ask for those prayers. And then before my presentation, I'd like to have District 1 employees and staff introduce themselves. And we'll start here on the front row. Commissioners, Secretary Serna, bienvenidos. Welcome to District 1. We are honored here at District 1 to host the State Transportation Commission meeting here in Truth or Consequences. I'd like to take the opportunity to invite you to see some of the great accomplishments the district has done over the last year. As you drive around, please stop by and enjoy some of our delicacies such as red or green enchiladas, possibly some chilaquiles, and just remember, it's chili with an E and not an I. Here at District 1, we have 7 counties, 2 interstates, I-10 and I-25, 4 U.S. routes, 84 New Mexico routes, 6,405 lane miles, 3 international border crossings, 12 rest areas, 2 RP, 2 MPOs, 1 tribe, the Alamo Navajo Reservation. Our District 1 operating budget is $23.6 million. Our field supplies budget is $5.6 million. We also have a budget for rest area improvement of $60,000 and rest area maintenance budget of $3.1 million. Meet our D1 staff. Currently, I am the acting district engineer. Mr. Harold Love is our engineering support manager. He's been with the district for about 40 plus years. His program has 20 permanent positions. Adrian Apodaca is our district program support manager and has 44 permanent positions. Leandro Leo Montoya III is our district maintenance program manager. He is a rookie of the group as he began his duties in January of this year. He's got 184 permanent positions. Lugarda Lulu Lopez is our administrative assistant for the DE, and Amy Evans is our public information officer here at District. Our program support section is overseen by Adrian Apodaca, and it's made up of the business support section, purchasing, accounting, risk management, stores, human resources, equipment shop, dispatch, buildings and grounds. These groups make sure our D1 team has the resources, equipment, and facilities to perform our jobs. Engineering support, overseen by Mr. Harold Love, composed of technical support, local government road fund, and traffic sections. They oversee project development. They maintain our D1 STIP program. They provide surveying and research of archives and traffic operations such as permitting, signing, and striping. Maintenance program led by Leo Montoya oversee 12 maintenance patrols, a chip seal crew, bridge crew, trucking crew, heavy maintenance. These are our field operations that maintain our roadways, bridges, hauling, contract maintenance, and assist during emergency incidents. Our construction program is made up of 4 construction crews, our district lab, our district audit section, and has 49 permanent positions in the program. I would like to recognize the local construction crew 4119 and maintenance patrol 4153. Our 4119 construction crew is managed by Joshua Varela, and he is responsible for the 2 ongoing local projects in this area. Maintenance Patrol 4153 led by Jonathan Terrazas in Williamsburg, and much appreciation to all these guys for all their hard work and dedication. This is a summary of the House Bill 2 and 3 funding. For 2019 and 2020, the district has expended all the funding. In 2019, Chapter 271, Section 9, Item 1, we expended $20.3 million, and for Item 2, we expended $16.6 million. For 2020 funding, we have expended $19.9 million from Chapter 83, Section 9, Item 1. The projects listed for 21 and 22 are currently ongoing or just getting started. Transportation Protection Fund for fiscal year 2023. Statewide, there was $92.3 million available. District 1 was able to fund 22 projects with 16 entities for a total of $16.6 million, with an additional 5% or $869,000 coming from entities for match. Capital outlay projects for 2022. With the district, there were 10 projects with 3 entities totaling $6.5 million. These are 100% funded. Local Government Road Fund. This fund will fund local projects at a 75% and a 25% match. The district funded 31 projects with 20 entities totaling $6 million. The district currently has $280 million in ongoing construction projects. A few of the most significant projects are New Mexico 404 at $39.8 million, a corridor that connects Anthony with Chaparral and serves as a local route into El Paso. This is a safety-based project that will add capacity by increasing the roadway from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. I-25 Williamsburg interchange, $36.9 million. Bridge replacement and a geometrically deficient interchange. We worked cooperatively with the Village of Williamsburg to enhance the look of this interchange with landscaping and artwork. Business Loop Roundabout project at $14.9 million. A safety project to address speeding and intersection crashes. 3 roundabouts will be constructed with the city of Tier C adding landscaping within the roundabouts. Some other ongoing projects within the district. US 70 in Las Cruces, a pavement preservation project. I-10 corridor west of Deming, a pavement rehabilitation project. And I-25 north of Socorro, a pavement rehabilitation project. Ongoing maintenance projects. Several bridge repair projects totaling about $1 million. We also have a siding replacement project for $173,000. We continue to deal with the aftermath of the 2021 flooding on US 70 near White Sands, and we will be performing culvert cleaning on this section of US 70 for about $400,000. As a district, we have been trying to manage the litter along our routes. It is an ongoing process as litter gets a free ride with our winds. We've done some damage to the litter, but there remains more work to be completed. This year, we've collected a total of 172,119 pounds of litter. Price agreement contracts were responsible for about 122,000. Adopt a Highway program collected about 10,000. Community Toss No Mas program collected about 13,000. And most significantly, D1 employees collected more than 26,000 pounds. A great achievement. We will continue to work on this and make progress on litter pickup. Our 2022 best project. Our bridge crew on New Mexico 187 performed structural work on Greenhorn Arroyo. The timber had rotted and decomposed and needed immediate repair, and our bridge crew was able to perform their work themselves.
Well, the difficulties was the size of the timber that we had to replace, and then trying to get it up underneath there in such a confined area. We made a jig off using scrap metal that we had laying around here, and to lift it up, made it like a cradle so we could carry it, and with the back of the backhoe, and we were able to kind of maneuver it in there on an angle and kind of come up and kind of twisted it up into place. It's a very good crew. Young crew. We've got majority of the crew has got less than 2 years with the department. 4 of us that have quite a few years. The rest of the other 4 guys are all new guys.
Our 2022 best practice was a D1 sign shop. They were able to do some signs for the district to advertise hiring. This was accomplished using existing materials at the sign shop. They saved money by doing this work in-house.
That was awesome. Unexpected, honestly.
Well, it was awesome, especially when you, like me, I'm getting ready to say, okay, I'm done. And to go out and step out with something that was a statewide thing is quite an opportunity for me to tell my grandkids, this is what Grandpa did.
And it's also nice to know that you're recognized for helping the department save money, because we use a lot of scrap materials to make signs.
Our 2022 Asphalt Pavement Association of New Mexico, District 1 had 3 projects that were awarded. US 180, milepost 47 to 67 was a maintenance project, in-place recycle. I-25 in Rincon was a rural highway reconstruction project. And Santa Clara, we had a walking path that received the award. These projects were really beneficial to the district and to the traveling public, as these roadways were in dire need of maintenance and reconstruction. The walking path in Santa Clara connected the village of Santa Clara to Baird and was very useful for pedestrians and a school crossing that was installed at that location. The 2021 WASHTO Best Use of Technology and Innovation for a Medium Project. This award was given for the New Mexico 136 P. Domenici International Highway, and it was a concrete overlay project. The scope of the project was for continuous reinforced concrete pavement, which was a first for District 1 and for the department. And I believe this project was overshadowed with our COVID pandemic. So I wanted to bring it to your attention and be recognized as a District 1 project and this award. Our district has very good employees, and we have to go through the process of selecting a few that stand out. Our 2022 Employee of the Year, Michael Lopez. He is with Crew 4129 in the equipment shop, and he is an equipment inspector. During this past year, he helped with an online auction by getting the equipment ready, taking photos. He is also the one person that is always willing to assist whatever needs are required for the district.
I was very surprised. I guess the willing to lend a hand to whoever needs help, trying to do the job to my best performance. I guess hard work does pay off in the long run, getting your name out there and being notified for doing a good job.
Our 2022 Team of the Year is Technical Support. Andres Linen is a Technical Support Engineer. Gamaliel Zapeda is our Professional Engineer 2. Ruben Medina is our Drafter. Deborah Hudson is Local Government Road Fund Supervisor. And Gil Gayosa works with local government. I frequently refer to these guys as the brains of the district. They know exactly what is going on, from STIP projects to local funding, capital outlay. They track and follow up, they train, they manage our STIP, and they develop projects. Congratulations to our technical support group.
So for us as a technical support team, being recognized by management is an immense honor. With our engineering team that's literally brand new, I think this was the opportunity for us to really break individual department thinking, silo thinking, and merge our workforces together to create a type of work enforcement and product that has pushed us to this level of recognition.
And last but not least is the District 1 Best Patrol, Magdalena Patrol 4155. This crew is very responsive to roadway needs, to district needs. They were very diligent in having a clean patrol, clean equipment, which is necessary as a snowstorm moves in and you need the equipment. One of the special projects that this patrol did was at one of the scenic picnic areas within their patrol. They went in and they cleaned all the brush and made it presentable and attractive for people to pull over and picnic or rest. So a well-deserved kudos to this crew.
I've been blessed with a crew that really likes to work. They work hard and they know their job and they do it good. They redid the parking lot, they re-leveled all the floors, they painted them, they went through all the office, bathrooms, they did all the work. I mean, it makes my job easy. It's really nice to have guys that work good and they take pride in themselves. Oh, they were excited, they loved it. They felt very accomplished. They felt like what they did mattered and people took notice of it. It made them feel great. And they deserved it. I mean, they worked hard.
Chairman Adams, Commissioner Secretary Serna. I'm honored to be the acting district engineer. I'm also very proud of the District 1 employees. This concludes the presentation for District 1. I am open to questions or comments. Thank you.
Is that better? Okay. Aaron, I just want to thank you and your team. I'll tell you a little secret. Trent said that he was the heart of the district and things would slip once he left. He swore by it, but I think he'll agree that he was wrong. You guys are doing awesome work, man. And thanks for your hospitality, for all that you're doing, and for stepping in when we need leadership there. But good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Because I have a habit of thank you for all the work that you and your employees do. When we created when I did that best practice award, I don't believe the secretary. When we did that award, we made it a team award. when I was developing it, I said, because I've been there, you, like, in a patrol, or if you're in audit, or if wherever area you're at, you go in there and you come up with the concept, and then other people come up with ideas, and together, it's usually a team effort. And that's why it didn't matter who came up with it, we gave it to the whole group, the whole team, because it takes a team to get things done, so, thank you. I want to, Rick.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. One of the things that District 1 failed to mention is every year we have the Pavement Preservation Conference, and we judge and grade the chip seal projects that every district has. And previously, District 4 held the title back-to-back-to-back state champions. This year, 2022, District 1 was the state champions for the pavement preservation. Congratulations to them. They did a tremendous job, great work in the field. They have a great team, and I can't say enough, but congratulations to District 1 for being the 2022 Pavement Preservation State Champions. Thank you.
But I just want you to know that District 4 was busy in the fires and that, so, hey, we passed it on this year.
I'd like to say something really quick, as somebody who drives District 1, all of District 1. I see your work, and I see what you guys are accomplishing, and it's looking good out there. I mean, the trash pickup, the highways, all of the additional items that you guys are working on presently right now, I see it, I drive it, and it's looking good. So thanks to all of you.
To the secretary report. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'll take some time to go over our legislative, the 2023 legislative session, which we're happy is over. And then I'll email you the updates so you can take a look at them so that we don't spend too much time here. Just for everyone in the room, I think it's important to share, especially with our workers present, that in House Bill 2, the legislature approved a 6% salary increase for employees who are not on probation or as soon as they end their probation after July 2023. So those pay increases for workers will become effective the first full pay period after July of this year. As you all are aware, the DOT for the last...
Let me just ask this real quick, Secretary. If anybody has any question on that 6% increase, because I know everybody's wondering, do I get it this, do I get it that? Is there any questions? Everybody understands that it's going to be a 6% across the board. Okay.
Sure. For the past few years, the Department of Transportation has received non-recurring general fund appropriations within House Bill 2 and a Section 9, and so we're pleased to share that within Section 9 right now, there's $55 million going to the DOT for design, construct, renovate regional airports, $306 million for the acquisition of right-of-way planning, design, construction, field supplies, roadway pres, basically maintenance, reconstruction, and new construction for several projects across the state. Within that section, there are 11 projects listed across the state. It's important to note of the $306 million that $232 comes from the general fund appropriation and $74 comes from increased tax distributions from motor excise tax. And then Section 9 also includes $5 million for design and construction of wildlife corridors. So we fared pretty good with Section 9 funding, especially the $306 million for construction maintenance. We also worked on some legislation that were critical for us. House Bill 270 was passed, and it authorizes the Secretary of DOT to issue orders suspending or modifying the requirements for vehicle size and weight in the event of a national or state declared emergency. In House Bill 78, the Aviation Fund gross receipt tax distribution changes included removing the sunset clause for those distributions and adding an additional $3 million annually to the Aviation Division. Senate Bill 160 brought to the DOT the Transportation Regulation Division, which currently exists at the Public Regulation Commission. That entire division will transfer to the NMDOT, where we will oversee it and manage it effective July 1 of 2024. Senate Bill 396, increased motorcycle registration fees to offset the increase of costs of the Total Division at the Department of Transportation. Memorial House and it requests the Department of Transportation to study the feasibility of the development of a Vision Zero plan, which is essentially aiming for zero fatalities on our roadways. And of course, the tax package bill, House Bill 547, did some things for DOT by way of adjusting the percentage of distributions we receive from the motor excise tax. So for example, beginning July of this year, those distributions will increase the state road fund by $75 million. Again, going back to how that $306 million total was arrived at. Beginning in July of 2025, it'll increase state road fund distributions by an additional $70 million, and it'll increase TPF distributions totaling about $17 million, okay? And so what was important for DOT and House Bill 547 is we know that state revenues won't always be as positive as they have been over the past couple of years, and so it reduces our reliance on Section 9 funding because these distributions will come regularly. Before I kind of close out, I want to recognize a lot of folks, many of whom are in the room that made a lot of this possible. Our legislative leads included Franklin Garcia and George Dodge, Stephanie Nemeth, who manages our bill analysis process, our entire NMDOT legal team, because they really tear it up with bill analysis. Marissa Mays and her team, Marissa, you may know, is pulled to handle statewide legislative comms support for the governor's office, and she keeps up with what we need her to do. I want to thank AC&M. I think I saw Jim here. AC&M did a great job, their contractors, in supporting our initiatives. And then, of course, the team, many of whom are here for their ongoing, expert witness testimony and support for bill analysis. Rick, Trent, David Quintana, Mallory, Trent Bodkin, especially on wildlife corridors, John Romero, Pedros, who's here for aviation matters, Jerry Valdez, and Dan Moran. So it was a really good team effort, full court press. These guys and these men and women know how to handle, themselves at the Roundhouse. So I just want to congratulate the entire team because overall, I think all things considered, we did really well this session, Mr. Chair. And so what I'll do is I'll send this over to you all, commissioners, so you can kind of take a look at it. And if you have any questions now, I'll answer them, and then I can go into my secretary report.
If anybody has a question, now's the time to ask since everybody's here. Don't worry about it. The only dumb question is the question that's not asked. So anything that you have or rumors you've been hearing, ask us before we move on. Is there anybody that? Nothing? Everybody's happy? Nobody wanted a 12% increase? Well, okay, that's why.
All right. So I just want to start with a couple of things, just some introductions. Again, I want to welcome Jessica Cooper, who started with the agency just a couple months ago as our deputy secretary. I know you all, I think, have had a chance to meet her so far. She's overseeing Human Resources, Office of Inspector General, our IT division, our training division, and a number of efforts that involve work groups focused on employee retention, recruitment, and engagement. So this is her first meeting, and I think her first time driving a car with lights on top. So I want to welcome her, and I appreciate her joining the team. There's a heavy lift in front of us when it comes to employee retention and recruitment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things, but I think given her background and expertise, which I shared with you all via email, is positions her well to do that. So welcome, Jessica.
Welcome on behalf of the commission. We had a chance to converse with you last night and listen to some of your ideas, and I think you're going to hit the ground running and you're going to be a great asset. So we look forward to great things.
I also just want to mention Steve Hamilton, who was literally on his way here yesterday when he got some news that prompted him to have to return to Santa Fe and take care of his wife. She wasn't well, And so Steve Hamilton, who joined us as general counsel, will be at our next commission meeting, and we kind of send positive thoughts and vibes to him and his wife at this time. I'm sure she's fine, but it was really important that he stay behind. So at another meeting, commissioners, I'll share a little bit more about his background, but I suffice it to say, is doing phenomenal things for us already. He has familiarity with the agency and with a number of lawyers on the legal team. He was oftentimes outside counsel over the past several years for DOT on a number of issues. So I want to thank him for joining us as well. Just very quickly, while we were doing introductions, I think, well, maybe he came in afterwards. I want to recognize Joseph Simon, our LFC analyst, who's here with us. It was a real pleasure to work with him. As you all may know, part of our budget development process during the legislative session is a kind of a negotiated process between LFC and DFA and DOT, and Joey's a good listener for sure, so I want to recognize him and thank him for being here. And then I just want to send a shout out, obviously, to Marissa and the comms team for all that they do, Marshawn included, for all that she does in the stressful days leading up to commission to make sure everything is set up and planned well. So thank you guys for all that.
The communication team does awesome.
No.
And I enjoy you guys, and I appreciate you guys. I enjoy the conversations we have. So, keep up the good work, and doing a great job. And we couldn't do some of the stuff we do without you guys, so thank you.
I know we've talked about this a few times already, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, but just to kind of share for those in the audience that weren't aware of what occurred with our District 1 employees. Last week, Thursday, an NMDOT truck carrying 3 survey employees was struck at the intersection of I-10 and State Road 80. They were hit by a vehicle that was fleeing from border agents. All 3 of the NMDOTs survived. One was ultimately transported to a hospital in Tucson, another in El Paso, and the third was treated in Silver City. One of the 3 men, Bo, has been sent home recovering. I know he's going to need some time to rest. Arnold in Tucson had a few surgeries and is looking at some physical therapy before he gets released. And then Ramon, of course, down in El Paso, the same. I heard from his brother today that there's a possibility he may get to go home. So I think that, first of all, I appreciate everyone, the comments and remarks about, thinking about them at this time and their families. I want to thank the district. I know they're already churning the wheels around, how they can help and contribute and support them as they move through recovery. But I also think it's important now that, we've had this conversation with Rick and others about how we recognize that these they're going to happen. They're going to continue to happen in District 1 at least. The incidences of, law enforcement being involved in high-speed chases in this area. And so we're working on ideas that can keep our crews safe when they're out on the roads without vehicles between them and bad guys. So I just want the commission to know that we're going to use this as an opportunity to determine how we can work better with law enforcement, how we can just be more strategic with, with our men and women so that we can keep them safe. I also want to share that Secretary Buttigieg is visiting New Mexico on Tuesday, April 4th. I think it's his second time that he's visited, and it's only been within the last 6 months that he's coming back. So he'll be in Albuquerque on April 4th, and he's going to participate in a wildlife safety corridor event and a pedestrian safety event in Albuquerque. Governor Lujan Grisham, who wasn't able to visit with him for scheduling reasons last time, will join him while he's on his visit. And so I wanted to flag that for you. When we get more information, we'll share it with you all as well. He'll be in Albuquerque, but those details kind of trickle in towards the, the end or the last minute. So kind of just bear with us, but certainly if you all are available to attend, we'll make sure you have the logistics. I just want to, the P word at DOT lately has been potholes, okay? So, and I know that I've talked with a number of you all about the pothole-related issues, especially in the northern part of the state where temperatures drop drastically over the course of the winter months. And so we've received a number of inquiries about potholes on major roads across the state. What we did earlier this week was we issued a press release that talked about our goal to tackle priority areas as quickly as possible and as certainly as weather permits. So we'll do as much patchwork as possible until we can get out there and do more permanent repairs as the weather warms up. But we issued that press release for a couple reasons to say we understand the issues, we're identifying the priority areas, We're not just going to wait until things warm up and vehicles get, more damaged over the next couple of months. We know we're going to have to chase the issue, maybe week after week, but we're going to do our best to do that. And then the press release also provided information on where drivers can go if their vehicles are damaged by potholes, so they can make that claim either with the contractor or with the General Services Division. So we got that out. I know it got picked up by Channel 7 for sure, and a couple of newspapers. And my understanding is it also prompted the city of Albuquerque to do a similar press release for when damage occurs on city roads. So we'll continue to work on that. As you may have heard, we've had several I-40 closures for a few hours at a time during the week. This week we did a couple of full closures over the night hours from 10, I think, to 6 in the morning. We did another one last night from 10 to early in the morning. So depending on the circumstances, we're considering a number of things, from those closures to speed reductions, the possibility of, lane closures. But we just want to be sure that the communities and the traveling public knows that it's on our radar, and we're going to be as vigilant as possible. So moving on, just to share with you all some of the focus areas that we're going to be working on in the coming months, and I think it just really coincides with spring weather and some of the activities going on across the state. One of them is going to be rest areas, focusing in on rest areas. So one of the first things that we did to assist is using some of our allocation of funding or carryover funding. We've allocated to the districts all of the resources they need to cover all of their cleaning contracts across the state. And we're also working to implement a QR code feedback process so that at the rest areas, as visitors come in, if they're not happy, they can use a QR code to send notifications back to us. And not only is that going to give us an opportunity to get out there and clean them, but it's going to give us a measurement for our contractors who go out there and clean, to let them know if they're not doing a good job and we have to move in different directions, and then we have the data to support the decision to do that. We're also going to be working on enhancing the New Mexico, Welcome to New Mexico markers that come into the state from various neighboring states. And so what we're going to do in some areas, the welcome signs in some areas are a little weathered. In other areas, they're becoming kind of part of this ongoing, I don't know what you want, trend to put stickers on the Welcome to New Mexico signs as people come into the state. So there are some signs, I think the one coming in from Arizona is almost entirely covered with just stickers, right? People come in, they put stickers, they take pictures, and that's the thing. And so what we want to do is figure out a way to, one, ensure that they're beautiful, attractive, and they make a statement about, New Mexico and what's awaiting them here. But if we need to also come up with a strategy where if you can't beat them, join them, maybe there's somewhere nearby that they can put a sticker and take a picture there with the Welcome to New Mexico sign, so they can kind of scratch the itch without messing up the sign, I guess. And so we're going to be working on that. We also have partnerships with the tourism department to work on visitor centers, and I know we're looking on electronic notification boards with them so that the visitor centers across the state are ready for tourist season. And then some of the things you heard in District 1 around litter are going to be kind of the best practices for us, but litter is going to be big. Over the course of the session, Senator Steinborn from District 1 asked that we work with the tourism department on the possibility of kind of merging some of the various campaigns that we have across the state, like DWI, Toss No Mas, New Mexico True, and whether or not we can kind of come up with a campaign that just generally says respect roads and respect other drivers, right? And so jokingly, I've said whether it's throwing trash or throwing fingers, it's about respecting roads, respecting each other. And so what can we do to just really, encourage drivers to understand, right, that we've got to respect one another and keep the trash inside the car. So we'll be working on that, and we're going to dedicate some of our ARPA funding to that effort with tourism department. But we're doing good things already between DOT crews, contractors, corrections inmates. We've picked up over 40,000 bags of trash along 3,400 miles. And so I know that the will is there. One of the other things that we want to work on are toolkits so that local governments can leverage, what we determine to be successful strategies to start picking up on their roadways or state roadways that go through their local communities, and they can engage, volunteers or high school students, etc. Something that I've heard from a couple of you on is retention, recruitment, and engagement, which is really, really big for us. As you all are aware, a couple of months ago, it was determined that all employees who had teleworking opportunities with the state of New Mexico or an agency with the state of New Mexico had to return to in-person work. And DOT, like every other agency, is feeling a pinch of this in some areas where there's a lot of commuters coming between, you know, their hometown and where they're stationed to work. And so we've had to be really creative about what we're doing to keep employees excited about being at DOT, and I just wanted to share some of the things that we're working on. One is we've got to identify multiple forms of alternative work schedules and create some of these models for managers. When you think of a traditional work week, like being 8 to 5 o'clock, that sometimes doesn't gel with when kids go to school or when you have other responsibilities or obligations or when you just want to do things by yourself. Maybe it's opposite, right? You want to be home when your kids are at school, which is nice from time to time. And so what we're trying to do is come up with various alternative schedules like 980s where you get every other Friday off, right? Or 410s or however you want it to look, right? Where maybe you just need Wednesday half days off. So what we're working on is really just coming up with some models of alternative work schedules that'll give workers opportunities to say, you know, this provides just better work-life balance for me. And baking into that, you know, some of the other opportunities they get like fitness, wellness leave. So that's big for us. We're also measuring to what extent we might allow an alternative work location for our employees. So for example, if you work out of Roswell and you come from Rio Doso, how might that work if you were in an office there instead of commuting there? The same, for example, here, right, with Deming and Las Cruces. How might we provide an alternative office location? You're still going to a DOT office, you're not teleworking, but perhaps you're not commuting as much. And so we're gathering a lot of information on those things. We're getting ready to launch, you know, an entire web page that's dedicated to the employee benefits at DOT. We're trying to really ramp up and reintroduce HEA activities, especially at the GO. And one thing that's paramount for us is we're slowly addressing the backlog issues and the hiring issues and how long it takes to process human resource actions at the general office in particular. And so we're untangling that mess and giving more autonomy to districts to issue offer letters on their own, to submit actions directly to the state personnel office, and then of course start to think of ourselves as a statewide HR team where we're helping one another across the state as opposed to just, you know, limiting our help to our specific district. And then we've got to develop a unique recruitment strategy that leans on recruiters. So some positions that we're encouraged to create are recruiter positions. For example, if you know you're out on the weekend and you talk to someone who says, yeah, I'm looking at something different. You know, I work at a bank and I don't like it, or I work here and I don't like it. You can have a point of contact where you can tell that individual, send your resume to this recruiter, and they can see if there's anything available at the agency that would be a good fit for you, right? And so oftentimes we get a lot of referrals. You know, here's a resume, here's a name, here's someone that's interested or looking. And we need to have people that can not only say, all right, your resume looks good, let us help you apply for a job, but can also say, you know what? You're a perfect fit for this position, but it's not being recruited for right now. Let me work with that manager to get it open for recruitment so we can bring you in. So we've just got to think a little bit more strategic about how we go out and get workers. We're actually creating a position and going to bring someone on board whose purpose it will be to just market vacancies across the state. And so I know the comms team has done a good job of creating a campaign. It's called Take This Job and Love It. And you see a lot of swag from time to time, and certainly on some of the DOT vehicles. What we've got to do is have someone who determines in this community, how do I get that campaign into the minds and eyes of everybody there. And so it may be announcing it at the Knights of Columbus at the Monday Bingo, it may be local radio, it may be social media, it may be flyers, it may be grassroots, or it could be TV commercials and everything in between. But we're going to bring on an individual that's going to specifically say, this is what we've got to do to show New Mexicans that we're open for business and we're ready to hire people. And so then the last one, going back similarly to the position, I think, Mr. Chairman, that you held over when you were with the DOT, was a liaison, a position that liaisons between senior leaders and the men and women who work out in the patrols. Someone who will be out visiting with patrols, identifying what's working, what's not working in terms of leadership, employee development, promotional opportunities, morale, how they're treated. And we want, we're going to bring someone on board that can really just be that advocate for the patrols. And again, it isn't all about going out there and finding problems, because there's a number of things that are working. You've heard some of the testimony from some of our employees already. We just need to figure out how we take what's working and move it around from one end of the state to the other. So A lot of focus over the next few months, of course, on how the state looks to us and to our visitors, and how DOT appeals to its current employees and those that are interested in working for us. So I know that was a whole lot. I can send it to you all too, but I'll answer any questions you may have.
That'll take the whole weekend, my brother.
Yeah. Happy
I just have a couple of questions. I'm happy to see that you have someone that's gonna go out and start meeting with the employees. Jen and I used to do that back in the day, and I would just like to let supervisors and Ds and ADs know that this isn't meant to go in and find out what's going wrong in your district or for them to tattletale. What it is for them to have an opportunity. When we used to go out, we were able to find out that the computer connections were slow. They talked about, the number one issue all the time is pay. And we let them know that we can't do anything about the pay, but during these visits, we were able to get them more boot allowance, more clothing allowance. We were able to, at one point, the secretary at that time was able to bring everybody up to midpoint because that was the big thing back then. And so these are positive meetings that they're going in to say, hey, what is it that you need? What resources can we provide you or we're not providing you with? We're not gonna get into the internal part, like, well, you know, this is going on and that's for chain of command. So it isn't meant to go in there and start, raising a ruckus. So I'm good to see that. And Jen's back there, and we used to travel. We traveled all over the state. I actually went to all 82 patrols, and it was very, very good because we learned a lot. Secondly, I just want to make this comment, is on the vacancy rates. I think at the last meeting, the commission asked you, hey, let's see how we can come up with a great idea to recruitment and then retention. We get you here, now how do we keep you? We're dealing with the private sector. Private sector now is doing a lot of telework. So we're losing a lot of people to that. They're letting them work out of the house all week. We're not. So now we gotta compensate for that. And and I'd like for the commission to get a monthly report on vacancies, just to see where we're at and how we're improving. And my main thing is to know if we're recruiting, as you said. And the second part is, do the HR offices have enough people to process everything? And if they don't, maybe we work on that too. I don't know that there is or isn't enough people. But we gotta come up with ways to start bringing people in, because what I don't wanna do, and I've been part of that, is that you start overburdening the other ones that are, you're 2 people short, you can't fill that position. So now you got other people having to pull more of a load, and after a while that gets bad. The DEs know that we're coming off the snow, but during a snowstorm, if you have vacancies and we can't get them in, well, if you have 4 trucks that you put out and you can only put out 2, that's gonna help out a lot there. Or these vacancies, they just tend to, now in the summer we got mowing, we got chip seal, we got blade patching and all that, herbicide. We don't got the people to go out there and do it, we're gonna start falling behind everywhere. So we just need to find a way, and that's not for you to worry about, it's for us. But at the same time, if you have any ideas on how to do it, how to make it faster, how to get it done, feel free to let us know, because we're open to that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you're right that the vacancies fester, but even for folks here now, well, mostly employees, not just anyone in general, but we're even working on developing a program that will compensate you if you refer someone that we ultimately hire at DOT. You know, if you bring someone, that you refer them, they say, so-and-so referred me, and we ultimately hire them, then we're looking at how can we compensate you, right, for that referral. So we're going to try and be creative. Sometimes that's the tricky part about belonging to a larger, entity, which is, state of New Mexico. But I think we can be, creative and try and be a leader for other agencies to do some things that aren't written in the rules, but they're also not prohibited by them, and will support, what we're trying to do. And like you said, you know, Chairman, I think what's important about telework for us, and I've talked about this publicly, are the men and women here and throughout the state that work for us that never saw a day of that and never will, because they're essential, because the work that they do can't be done from home. And we have to recognize that, you know, even if we come up with programs like alternative work locations, you know, which save office employees money perhaps on childcare, which saves them money on commuting costs, right? Well, even though they're not getting paid more, they're saving more money, right? So we've got to be equally vigilant to say, well, for our essential workers who are never going to get to, you know, maybe reap the benefits of an alternative work location or telework, what is the increased compensation for them? You know, how do they make more or save more from showing up to work every single day? So we have to find that balance so that we're not just, you know, worried about those who, you know, want to be able to do things remotely. So we're mindful that more than 1,000 of our workers are never going to have an opportunity to leverage some of this cost-saving measures like, you know, less commuting and things like that.
And one last thing that I want to say is, there was a program that I worked with, and it was getting ready to get implemented, and it never did. And that was back when I first came on at the GO with, and Rhonda Fott was the secretary. And what that did is it gave employees a chance, if you couldn't go up, you could go 10% this way. So in other words, if you went and got your certification for herbicide, that was an incentive to get a 10%. If you were to go get your hazmat, or if you're working in an office environment and you go get a certification or you take classes in this, that would allow for 10% a year. And I think you could get 3 bumps. And so I'm saying, if you're bettering yourself, we should be willing to compensate you for that. And so I think we need to create that. If you can't go here, then maybe we can go here for now. Because in a lot of, and I always say the maintenance, but I know it's in all the offices. I just use that as an example, because in some of the smaller patrols, you have like a five man patrol. All of them have the same time in. So they're all gonna retire at the same time, so there ain't nobody moving anywhere. So we need to figure that out. So thank you, Secretary, and if we can get that report, and if we can advocate for any support for you, whether it's more employees or whatever in the HR area. So thank you. Is that it? Okay. With that, Cindy, we always appreciate you being here. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Now we're live. So last week, the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Grant Program Notice of Funding Opportunity was released. So what that's going to provide is $700 million over the next 2 years to deploy publicly accessible electric vehicle charging stations. And there's 2 parts to that program. So there's the community program, and then there's the corridor program, which I know the state is very involved with. So the funding will help develop this infrastructure and the charging stations along designated alternative fuel corridors or in other publicly accessible locations, which is where the local communities can come in. So those applications are due at the end of May, so May 30th. I wanted to share that. Also, there's still time for comment. I know this is of great interest. I think we saw ACNM here. Oh, hey, Jim. So Federal Highways is still interested in receiving comment for review of the general applicability waiver for Buy America requirements. So that's still ongoing, in particular to manufactured products. So that was released Friday in the Federal Register. So if there's any interest, please seek that out, or I can provide links to that as well. I know earlier we were talking about signs quite a bit, and which is a good thing. And we know that Federal Highways is also preparing to clear the full MUTCD text for publication in the Notice of Final Rule. So we've been waiting for that for some time. So for what the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices does is it dictates of what our signs look like, what colors we can use, the lettering, and all the dimensions, so, and reflectivity and all those requirements. So I know that'll be coming out here soon. I know we've been waiting for that for some time. Another item here regarding some funding availability, and of course here that we're in District 1. So the reduction of truck emissions at port facilities funding opportunity is going to be coming out soon. So that's another area where we can test, evaluate, and deploy projects to reduce port-related emissions from idling trucks. So I don't have a date yet for that, but we've been notified that that'll be coming out. Also, Secretary, you mentioned in House Bill 2 having funding for wildlife corridors. So the funding opportunity for wildlife crossings will also come out, and that'll provide $111 million for the Wildlife Crossings Pilot Program. Again, that will also be on a competitive basis, and again, it's a pot of money that you guys can apply for. Right? Great. And that's all I have for this month. Great. Any questions?
Commissioners?
Okay. And also, just to dovetail a little bit with the Secretary's visit next, I think that's Tuesday, the 4th, in particular of interest is safety, pedestrian safety in particular. So we'll look forward to hearing what he has to say. Great, thanks.
Thank you for attending and always being part of these meetings. Thank you.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
On the $700 million for the charging stations, how do we as a state apply by district, and how does that get? My district's very large, and we have little towns and places like that. So how does that get decided?
So the $700 million, I understand, Cindy, is a combination of discretionary grants and NEVI plan implementation. Is that it?
Correct.
Okay, great. So, Commissioner, there's two ways. Well, really three in New Mexico, and one is kind of already underway. So we received about $12 million total. It was some capital funding and some ARPA funding, and we did an RFP about 8 months ago to get that funding out the door to local communities, and we focused on rural communities. So we have 38 projects already in the works. We have about $2 million left there, so we even have some room for discretion if we find a good community with a good partner that can help get charge stations there. Now that the NEVI plan is approved, the focus there will be to outfit the I-25, 40, and 10 corridors, right? So that's the first priority for the NEVI funding. But this second program, the community program or the discretionary grants, we're looking to apply as the state for some discretionary grant funding. If we get that grant, what we'll do again then is go out RFP and tell communities, we have 10 million. If you can come up with X amount, right, through a private-public partnership or capital outlay or whatever, or show hardship, we're gonna give you the funding to get those charge stations in all of your communities as well. So we expect that between the ARPA project, the discretionary grant project, and the NEVI plan, we're gonna outfit this state over the next 3 years with a pretty sound infrastructure. So we can talk, Commissioner, about that $2 million we have left. The RFP that we're gonna roll out for NEVI is gonna come out in the next month or so because the rules just got finalized. And then we're gonna apply for the discretionary funding, and hopefully we'll hear about that in the next 4 months or so.
A quick question on the charging stations. We just got 4 in District 4. And I don't know, James, do we have signing or anything that lets people know? Because I haven't really seen it, so I don't know if it does or doesn't. But is there any, like, because I don't know if we need to start doing that, is like putting up signing, letting people know that there's charging stations there. I guess, or is it, with this, I'm not too familiar with the electrical stuff, and I don't know if it automatically comes up on something or. I appreciate, Jerry.
Yeah, maybe Jerry knows. I don't know if he's.
Is Jerry here? Yeah, because I know we have them at our station, and then like I was passing by and I didn't see any signs, so I'm saying, well, how would people know that we have them there? Because that's a great asset for us, you know. Okay. Yeah, like come up with some kind of a plan. Right, right. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm not too savvy on all the stuff that goes on with that, so it's new to everybody, I think. But as we're moving more and more into that area and people are getting more and more cars, I'm just curious, like, how would they, I know where the sign says stations or whatever, but now I don't know where they.
There you go. Jerry went to go plug in his car.
He was hiding the.
So Jerry, the question was, the charge stations that we have at the districts themselves, are they ready to rumble? And if so, do we anticipate putting signs identifying that they're there and directing traffic?
Thank you so much, Secretary, Commissioners, Chairman Adams. Well, and thank you for the districts as well. I mean, we're ready to roll. The construction phase is completed. What we're currently working on right now, Secretary and Commission, is the commissioning of the equipment through the payment processing system. One of the things that was necessary was for us to build out how to charge those vehicles, right? Not only charging, but paying for the charge itself. So we're about 3 weeks out. And to answer the question about signage, talked to Executive Director Padilla, and we will be providing signage, directional information on the roads following the acceptable, of course, federal guidelines for those charging stations, as well as signage at those charging stations indicating that this is from the COVID relief fund, which is the ARPA funding that was provided for us to really build this economic anchor in this community.
So that's coming, that's coming, okay.
It's coming in, and Chairman Adams, I don't know if you had a chance to stop by and see the charging.
Well, no, and I appreciate that they're there. I was just asking, James, because they're very nice. They're an asset there at District 4, and we were lucky to get some of the first 4. But we're wondering, how do people know if they're traveling that they're there? Because it's sort of, you gotta go around and go into that thing. And so we're new to all this, so that once we get all that signed. Now, if you have a DOT badge, do you get half price?
You know, that's a great question. I'll leave that up to Secretary of State.
Oh, okay.
But one of the other areas that with EV charging stations, in fact, and I apologize, I'm on actually call with the governor's office right now talking about EV charging. It's multifaceted. You're talking about not only construction, you're talking about the relationships with your energy providers around the state, the PNM, yourself, Continentals, as well as your payment processing. And so
Okay, yeah, okay, that answers a lot of questions. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, if it's gonna be online somehow, I would think it would need to be online even more importantly than a sign, because if somebody's coming up 60 miles away, they need to know where the nearest charging station is.
Ms. Sandoval, you're absolutely right, and, it will be entered into the National Plug Share System, that all charging stations will be incorporated into, and those individuals, that drive electric vehicles know the websites, know where to search, but even beyond just those public-facing web applications that you can where to find it, it will be put on our New Mexico Road application that we have control over as well, so yes,
Great,
absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? With that, I'm gonna move on to financial report. Mallory? Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. How are you guys?
We're good, and you?
All right, I'll start off with my joke. Compliments of IT, Eric. Why did this scarecrow get an award? He's outstanding in his field. All righty. If you want to go to the next page, okay, one more, sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we'll be going over our financial status as of March 1st. Currently, the State Road Fund, column F, line number 14, has received $551 million in state revenue. We have expended $625 million of that. And right now, we do show that we're expending faster than what we're receiving revenues. That's a norm for us. We are still trending on schedule. We are forecasting to meet our projection revenue for FY23. On the next page, this is our restricted fund revenue, column F, line number 23. We have received $74.1 million in restricted revenues. We have spent $49.8 million of that, and we are trending on point with the restricted revenues also. On the next page, this is our cash balance. We compare where we were at in February of 2022 versus February of 2023. As you can see, the State Road Fund is about $54 million more in cash. We have $54 million more in cash and about $52.9 million in restricted revenue than this time last year, for a total of $573.2 million of cash balance. Cash does not take into consideration any purchase orders that we have encumbered, okay? And then on our last page, this is where we project our fund balances to be at the end of fiscal year 23. On the last column where it says projected unbudgeted fund balance, we are projecting a $53.2 million fund balance in State Road Fund. This does take into consideration what we have requested for FY24's fund balance and the salary increase of the 6%. And then the restricted revenues, line number 25, add up to about $15.9 million of fund balance available for us to use at any time. And then also, I just want to let you guys know, we will be presenting a few bars today. Those bars have been put into this projection also, okay? And with that, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I stand for questions.
On behalf of the commission, as far as our budget goes, we're doing good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mallory, do you know right off how much we spend on salaries?
Salaries, well, we budget about $152 million.
Okay. And I just want to make this point, and I think it's important for the commission. So we do not receive any recurring general fund appropriations, okay? So when the legislature approves a salary increase for all state employees, the legislature, the process essentially says, okay, if you need 40 million to give your employees an increase, they give you a percentage of that. And I can't remember the percent, perhaps Joey, if you remember the percent, I think it's like 60%. They give you like a percentage of what it costs to give a state employee a raise. So your average agency gets a percent, right? If they say it's gonna cost 40 million to give your employees a pay increase, that agency will get like a percentage of that 40 million to help pay for it. And the assumption is that agency gets other funding, right? Whether it be federal funding or other revenue sources to make up the difference. Well, DOT is an exception. I don't know if they're the only one, but DOT is an exception because we don't receive that portion. And so you take $100 million, right? And over the past 3 years, I think the legislature has doled out probably about 15% increases, right, of pay increases. So you take 100 million, multiply it by 15%, that's how much we're carving out of our operational budget for those pay increases, and we don't get any of that from the legislature. So we fund it ourselves. And so something that we've got to work on, I think, with LFC and DFA over the interim is, how does DOT and other agencies like DOT that are highly federally funded get enough money to help paying for those pay increases? Because we're going to give them to our employees and they deserve them, but we don't get any of the legislative appropriated general fund to do that. It just keeps coming out of our operational budget. So I just wanted to make that point, and I don't know, Joe, if you had anything.
And you're right, Secretary. So on the fund balance page, that 53 million, majority of all our funds come out of that. So for FY24, we've set aside $9 million for raises.
And so that'd be 9 million for the 6%, right? So you multiply that, by 2. And so in the last 2 years, it's been about 18, probably close to 20 million that just comes out of other operational expenditures.
Thank you. Thank you, and let your group know that they always do a great job, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're gonna go into Mark. Mark, how's your bracket in the NCAA? Let me tell you something. I picked San Diego State and I picked UConn.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Very, very smart.
I mean, I could show it to you, but I can't find it.
Well, you're ahead of me because I did not do it this year, so. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Secretaries, Mr. Secretary, Commissioners. On page 58, at the top of that page, this will show your, what we're holding in debt service for your bonds. We get in monthly a set-aside payment, which totals around 15.8 million. So we are currently holding $106.3 million for debt service. You do have a debt service payment coming up on June 15th. It'll be in the amount of $152.4 million. Right underneath that chart, you have a couple of project funds. They total $268.9 million. It's mainly out of your 2021 bond series. And at the bottom of that page, this is your line of credit. You have a $50 million line of credit for your BNSF escrow requirement. You typically pay a commitment fee quarterly. That payment will be next due now in April. But it's a very generous line of credit. You pay 1 month so far plus 77 basis points on your commitment. That's on your drawn fee. You don't ever project to draw on that line of credit, so that doesn't play. But you do pay 19 basis points on your commitment fee. The line of credit has been in place since 2013. On the next page, as I mentioned, you have a $152 million payment coming up on June 15th. This will show the breakdown by bond series. You'll be paying $130.5 million in principal, $21.8 million in interest, for that total of $152 million. If you add in the interest payment that you made in December, your total fiscal year debt service will come to a total of $174.5 million. And also, I'd like to mention that your bond requirements require that we do a continuing disclosure report annually. It's due at the end of March. We were able to get that done, and it's been posted to the dissemination agents at the beginning of March. And with that, your rating agencies typically do an annual review of your revenues. Kroll, which is one of your rating agencies, has already actually fulfilled that requirement to look it over, and they've actually reaffirmed your AAA rating, so great job.
So everything's in good shape at this point?
Everything is in very great shape.
Thank you, Mark. We
No
always
problem.
appreciate you, and I think that we're looking in to see if you only have to come every other meeting, right?
Yeah, we appreciate him, and we're disinviting him to every other meeting, so.
Well, thank you.
To help you out, because you give a great report, And I don't know if we could wait like, and that, unless something came up and you needed to come.
In the future, as some of your bonds do become callable, we'll obviously need your direction on that, but that'll
Okay.
be in about a year's time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we're gonna move on to action item approval bar number 12, Dan Moran. Yeah, it's on D.
Sorry about that, but Dan couldn't be here. Sorry. My name is Pedro Rael, Mr. Chairman and Commission members and Mr. Secretary. I am the Director of the Aviation Division, and I'm here to present this action item for the request to allow a transfer of funds from the Aviation Fund to our budget in the sum of $1 million. The numbers are in the paperwork that have been submitted to you, Mr. Chairman, and what it turns out to be is that the federal government during the past couple of years has increased the amount of money available to the airports, and we run, of course, all 49 airports in the state of New Mexico, and has increased the amount of available funding, and therefore our matching funds have increased, and that's the biggest reason for the shortage. So we ended up with a shortage of actually, if you work with those numbers, it's actually $978,000 that we're short for this coming fiscal year, and we need to, we're asking you to allow us to increase the amount from the funding of the Aviation Division. It doesn't come from any other fund. It's already allocated by the legislature, to transfer it to the budget of the Aviation Division so we can have access to it, so that we can use that for for federal matching funds in the upcoming year. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, that request.
Thank
It is
you.
an action item.
Any questions from fellow commissioners? If not, Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I recommend approval of bar 15.
What is the pleasure of the commission? Do we have a motion to approve action item, approval of bar number 15, state match for grants?
I make a motion to approve of bar number 15, state match for grants.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Sandoval. Have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from Commissioner Lundstrom. Can we do a roll call?
Yes.
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 Carries unanimously.
Thank
We'll
you,
go on
Mr.
now
Chairman.
to letter E, approval of Pedro, and thank you for your presentation. Action item, approval of bar number 16, payroll modal.
Alrighty. All right, Chairman and Commissioners, bar number 16 is for the modal program. This bar is to increase the employee benefits category CAT 200 by $150,000. This is due to cover payroll-related shortfalls on continued recruitment efforts and potential overtime. Currently, the modal program has about 120 FTEs. They are fully staffed. So when we do, or pretty much fully staffed. So when we do our budget, we do about a 10% vacancy rate. And this program is really recruiting very good. So Fund 130, which is the federal transit, that's 100% federal funds, needs $5,000 to get them through the end of the fiscal year. The aviation fund needs $75,000, and that's supported by the aviation fund balance. And then the road fund needs about $70,000, and that's supported by the state road fund balance. And with that, Commissioners, I respectfully ask for approval of bar number 16.
Before we do that, Mallory, why don't you go ahead and do F2, and we can incorporate both?
Perfect. So then bar number 17, this is for the project design and construction program. This bar is to establish budget authority for the FHWA program. This bar is to increase contractual service category by $100.5 million, which of $80.4 million are federal funds and $20.1 million is the state match. This bar is to accommodate the increase in the federal apportionment we received, and also to accommodate releases and change orders that were processed throughout fiscal year 23. And with that, I respectfully ask for bar number 17's approval.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. What is your recommendation for action item approval of bar number 16, payroll model, and then the letter F, action item approval of bar number 17, FHWA?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of both those bars.
What is the pleasure of the commission? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve bar number 16 and bar number 17.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second from Commissioner Sandoval for approval of action item, approval of bar number 16, and action item approval of bar number 17. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundstrom?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you. We're gonna move on now to 10A, action item, request approval to open a rulemaking action to repeal and replace the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and Mr. Secretary. I'm here to request approval to open rulemaking action to repeal and replace the New Mexico Department of Transportation's Rule 18.27.2, which is the New Mexico Administrative Code regarding the Division 100, or the general provisions of the standard specifications for highway and bridge construction. The reason for this request is we periodically review with the FHWA these specifications just to make sure that they're up to date, current, and most effective. And because the rule is codified, it requires rulemaking procedure, and we respectfully request the commission to allow us to open rulemaking procedures at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation? Commission has had a chance to review it, and we'll ask for your recommendation before I ask for approval.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I request your approval of our ability to open the rulemaking for this general, Division 100 General Provision Standard Specifications for Highway and Bridge Construction.
You heard the Secretary's recommendation. So do I have a motion for action item, request approval to open a rulemaking action to repeal and replace the New Mexico Department of Transportation's Rule 18.27.2 NMAAC Division 100 General Provision Standard Specifications for Highway and Bridge Construction? Do I have a motion to approve?
I make that motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lundstrom to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Commissioner Chenoweth. Roll call.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Yes.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundstrom?
Call ended.
One moment, please. Commissioner, are you back with us?
Rashawn?
Yes, sir.
I get cut off or call back.
We were doing a roll call vote for action item on the policy reports.
I vote yes.
Thank you. It carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going to go on to B, proposed approval of road transfer. Aaron. Now that I'm going fast on the agenda, everybody's going.
Chairman Adams, Commissioners, Secretary Serna, this is a briefing for a request to enter into a road transfer agreement with the City of Socorro regarding I-25 Business Loop 12, also known as California Street. NMDOT, Right-of-Way Bureau, Property Management Unit, we've received a request for a road transfer agreement between the City of Socorro and New Mexico Department of Transportation District 1. This transfer agreement conveys jurisdiction and maintenance responsibilities for I-25 Business Loop 12, California Street, to the City of Socorro. The limits of the transfer are the southern access control line at I-25 exit 147 to the northern access control line at I-25 exit 150. and it's within the city of Socorro, their limits. It's a center line distance about 2.045 miles. Included in your packet is a map of the business loop showing the limits of the transfer. Also a FHWA approval request. We have an IDC from district to property management for this request. We also have a legal description of the property. The city of Socorro has provided us a resolution for this road transfer. There's also a draft road transfer agreement in your packet and a draft quitclaim deed. No action is required at this time. This is for discussion purposes only. Chairman Adam, Commissioners, I stand for any questions.
Team feel that this is in our best interest?
Yes, sir. I think this will definitely help us. The city of Socorro wants to beautify and create a more attractive roadway, and it gets us, releases us of maintenance duties so we can refocus our priorities somewhere else.
Okay, so that, we had a chance to review it in the packet, and this is only for information only. So I'm assuming that at the next meeting, you will be bringing it up for an action item, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I would say that if, anytime that we have chances to do these road agreements, that we don't wait too long, because sometimes they decide that they, but I appreciate that you took the time to review and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Ten C, hello Trent.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Rick was telling me I needed to hurry because I'm the last one, but this is the shortest commute I've had since October, so I'm going to take my time.
Yeah,
And I
but-
also recommend all the rest of the commission meetings be in Santa Teresa, Sunland Park, Deming, Las Cruces.
Hey, Hatch.
Hatch, that's
Didn't
right,
they-
Hatch.
Didn't they tell you that I was giving you a ride back to Santa Fe?
No. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I am here to propose dedication of Interstate 10 eastbound from milepost 143.69 to milepost 145.43, and Interstate 10 westbound from milepost 145.43 back to milepost 143.69, and I-25 from milepost 0 to milepost 0.19, otherwise known as the I-10, I-25 interchange in Doña Ana County, as a Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rod Rodriguez Memorial Interchange. Mr. Chair, I know it's a little bit long, but just to give a little bit of background about why we're doing this, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to read the background into
No,
record.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
May 6, 2022, Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales, on behalf of Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rod Rodriguez Foundation, met with certain executive staff members of the New Mexico DOT to formally request the dedication of the I-10, I-25 interchange in Doña Ana County in memory of United States Army Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rod Rodriguez. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez was a native New Mexican born on June 26, 1991. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2009 and attended one-station unit training at Fort Benning, Georgia. After completing the one-station unit training, he attended the Basic Airborne Course and the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. He was then assigned to the 3rd Ranger Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. In June 2018, Sergeant First Class Rodriguez voluntarily reclassified as a cryptologic linguist in Spanish. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez deployed 8 times with the 75th Ranger Regiment and twice with 3rd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group Airborne in support of Operation Freedom Sentinel. On February 8, 2020, Sergeant First Class Rodriguez was killed in action while conducting combat operations in the Shirzad district of Nangarhar Province, Afghanistan. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez received numerous medals and awards in recognition of his exemplary service, including the Bronze Star Medal, Joint Service Commendation Medal, Army Commendation Medal 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, Army Achievement Medal 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, Army Good Conduct Medal 2nd Award, National Defense Service Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal 2 Campaign Stars, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development Ribbon, numeral 2, Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon, NATO Medal, Ranger Tab, Combat Infantry Badge, Expert Infantry Badge, and the Parachutist Badge. He was posthumously awarded the Combat Action Badge, Bronze Star Medal, and Purple Heart. If the commission grants approval and proceed with the subject dedication, we request to formally designate the I-10, I-25 interchange in Doña Ana County as the Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rod Rodriguez Memorial Interchange will be submitted to the commission for approval at its next regular meeting. Attached here too for reference is the proposed sign face detail and an aerial image depicting the limits of the proposed dedication. Mr. Chair, before I get into those two attachments, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Stephanie Nemeth. She's been working very hard with me on the resolution and working with the family as we move forward and getting ready for actual request for action at our next meeting. What you see here, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, is the sign face detail that we've come up with. This is a white on green sign. It is our standard road dedication sign. It will be placed permanently on 3 posts adjacent to the interstate. What you see here is the, do we have a pointer by any chance? No.
I'll go point.
So what we see here is this doesn't have a north arrow, Mr. Chair, but to the left is the north as you enter into. This is I-10 coming from El Paso as you enter into Las Cruces. I-10 then circles back west running to Deming. I-25 peels off here and then this runs into Las Cruces. Every traveler that goes to and from El Paso into Las Cruces travels through this interchange. Our proposal is we will place a sign here. We will place northbound on I-25, I'm sorry, southbound I-25 here, eastbound I-10 here, and westbound I-10 here. So essentially every traveler through New Mexico, through Las Cruces will see that sign. The other thing that I was asked to do, Mr. Chair, if you would give me just 30 more seconds of your time, I received an email from Guadalupe Rodriguez Armijo, who is the mother of Sergeant First Class and the founder of the Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rodriguez Foundation, and she asked me to read just a very brief statement. As founder and president of ARR Foundation and mother of Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rod Rodriguez, thank you, commissioners, for your consideration to designate the I-10, I-25 interchange as a memorial to honor fallen soldier Sergeant First Class Antonio Ray Rodriguez. If approved, this very special recognition shall be a reminder to all travelers leaving or entering New Mexico that heroes are born, raised, and memorialized in the state of New Mexico. Antonio's dedication to protect, to defend, and to serve this country will always be remembered. His life and memories will always be celebrated, and his sacrifice will never be forgotten. I appreciate the time and effort the New Mexico DOT has given me to bring this forward for approval. I sincerely and humbly thank you, Guadalupe Rodriguez Armijo. Again, at this time, Mr. Chair, this is just a briefing. The expectation is once we get the resolution drafted up and the families in supportive of that, we'll present that for formal action at the next commission meeting. Tentatively, we are working with the family to do the actual road dedication upon your approval almost immediately after the commission meeting. But those details we're still working through, again, pending approval at the next commission meeting. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
I just have one. If the commission decides to approve it at our next meeting, you will bring it up at the May meeting, correct?
That is the
For
plan,
approval.
Mr. Chair.
And then if it is approved, you don't have a date or anything? Because I know you were talking to me about, not a ribbon cutting, but a placement of the unveiling of the sign or whatever.
Mr. Chair, the dedication, I'm still working with the family, but tentatively they have 3 dates. Purely by coincidence, the weekend after your next commission meeting, they have their annual golf tournament in remembrance.
In Las Cruces?
In Las Cruces, that's correct. What they're recommending is that we have the dedication either Friday, Saturday, or the following Monday. Again, I'm working on those final details with the family, but I'll have that probably within the next week. And then maybe through Mershawn, I can give you a better idea in case you all wanted to attend. but that detail is still unknown due to conflicts with the golf tournament.
If
that
you
they're
could
having.
continue as you've been doing to keep me informed, and then at that point, when we get to a point, we can send out information to all commissioners.
And Mr. Chair, just a little bit of additional information to hopefully satisfy any concerns you all might have. I have worked with Max Valerio with Federal Highway in reviewing the location and the sign phases detail. I met with Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales, and I shared the same information with him. And the family has also seen the sign face detail and the tentative locations of the dedication of the sign placement. Everybody seems to be in agreement with the two documents that you saw today.
Thank you for all your hard work, and we'll see you in May
Yes, sir.
here.
Absolutely. It would be easier, Mr. Chair, if we did it in Las Cruces. That way we could just go straight to the dedication.
Oh, just kidding. No, thank you a lot for your hard work, and thank you for all the information that we've been sharing, because we've been on this since day one, and I think it's very important, but we'll see when we get there, and this will give the commissioners, if they have any further questions, or if they have anything that they can contact you. We have 2 months, so.
And one last comment, Mr. Chair. All the presentations that Aaron did today and all the recognitions are from last year while I was district engineer, so he has still failed to prove himself just yet.
You know what, Trent, hey, Trent, I didn't want to bring this up, but since we're there, okay?
I'm finished, Mr. Chair.
Aaron told me, look at all the good things we're going since Trent left.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So with that, again, on behalf of this commission, we want to thank each and every one of you for attending. People that took time out of their busy day to come over here and partake in our meeting. Our employees, you're as good as they come. And we're very, very happy that you've chose to work for us. I know that you're not here for the money, but you're here because you have a passion to do good things and help out the traveling public. And what people don't realize, our own families travel all these roads. It's not that just that we're working on roads or we're doing things in the offices. Our families travel these roads. So each and every one of you, you're very much appreciated, and we thank you. And with that, is there any other business or anybody else to come? Okay, we'll do that on the adjournment. Thank you, Rick. Is there any other business or anybody else to come before this commission? Fellow commissioners, any final comments? With that, I want to adjourn this meeting at 10:41. We are official, or do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:41. Do I have a second? We have a double second from Commissioner Chenoweth and Sandoval, and then we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundstrom?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
No.
Okay, let's open it back up for another hour. Commissioner Taylor, everybody wanted to adjourn. Did you notice I didn't even ask for a secondary recommendation because we're going? So,
Go away.
Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Taylor. I know you've been under the weather. So with that, meeting adjourned. Yeah.
Yeah, where's we finish it?